in quite a while, maybe ever, held the Rams, who had been averaging over 32 points per game, to 3 points, cut their rushing output in half, their yardage output by 160 yards. The question now, a week after the game, how did they do that? Willie McGines with us for the first time since the Super Bowl. Yep. You know this defense as well as anybody. What did you see?
Well, one thing, when you got a young quarterback that's still getting training from the head coach and he's still talking to him throughout plays to help him out, you understand that. And then the other thing, when you have a young quarterback, you want to give disguises, give him the illusion that he's seeing something, and then right before the ball is snapped, you want to show him something else. So on this very first play, when we go to the game, here's a man-to-man, because you see Gilmore running over with Cooks. That's man-to-man, but look at the safeties. They're too high. So this is giving you a cover 2 look, which means zone. It's not zone, it's man-to-man. They're covering Robert Woods right here in the slot, man-to-man, with Jones and Chung. He thinks it's open. Goff is going to let the ball go right now, but Chung's coming outside. They got a vice. He got him outside, and Jones had him inside, okay? So that's one play. Here it is again. Everybody's locked up. It's man-to-man. You got McCourty right here in the box. Now, you don't know if he's a rusher or if he's dropping out. Well, guess what? He's dropping out. It's a double team, so they're forcing the ball to go to the single guy who is their best cover guy, is Gilmore. And then on this last play, they're going to put McCourty in the box again. He's thinking the same thing. Okay, they're going to double somebody. They're in the man-to-man again, but guess what? They bring both the safeties in the blitz. So they're giving you a lot of different looks. They're giving you the same looks, but there's different actions off of those looks. So it's a constant throughout the game. We give you something, we take it away, and we bring something else.
So the goal, obviously, to confuse Jared Goff, and apparently they did that so successfully they didn't even have to go all that deep into their bag of tricks. According to you, they left something in there?
There are always a bag of tricks. When we played, we always had a first half, maybe even the second quarter. If you make adjustments, we're going to come with something totally different you didn't see. In the second half, didn't need to go to those plays because they were handling everything with what they had in the first half. The Rams couldn't handle it. No need to adjust. Continue to do what you do, and it worked.
So they had a plan, and they said, abort the plan. We don't need to change anything. Stick to what's been working.
The A plan was working.
Until it stops working. Is it true that they had 2 defensive calls for every play, one for up to the time that Sean McVay could talk to Jared Goff, and then one for after the headset clicked off?
It's actually one play. You just disguise and show something else. And then when the time runs down, like we used to do against Peyton Manning, you get it to where now you can't check out of everything. You got to run the play you called, and we're going to give you a different look and confusion and take that away.
So much interesting stuff to go back and look at, and we'll do more of that tomorrow with Rex Burkhead, the Patriots running back, our guest tomorrow on NFL Total Access. In the meantime, news out of Carolina that's big for a few reasons. Veteran safety Eric Reed signing a 3-year deal with the Panthers worth more than $22 million, according to Mike Silver. Why is this big? Because Reed is in the midst of a collusion case against the league that alleges that team owners conspired to keep him out of the league last season because of his social justice protests. How does this deal affect that, Ian Rappaport?
Well, that is actually still ongoing. Maybe the larger point is still being argued by Eric Reed and Colin Kaepernick and the people they've surrounded themselves with. But from a football standpoint, this is a big-time move for the Carolina Panthers. And make no mistake, when you talk to Panthers decision makers and those in the know there in Carolina, this was, when they signed him midway through last season, a football decision. They did not even ask him if he was going to kneel for the national anthem. They didn't ask him if he was going to be outspoken. They didn't tell him he couldn't say what was on his mind. It was simply about football, and they have maintained throughout that he was a very good football player, more than good enough to be on their team. And when he finished last football season, they wanted to keep him around for several more. That is what they did today with a 3-year extension worth more than $22 million. A big piece of this Carolina defense, regardless of anything else going on.
Thank you, Ian. Some good news out of Dallas now, where Travis Frederick says he is nearing a return to the field after missing the entire season because of Guillain-Barré syndrome, which he tells WFAA in Dallas hit him so hard that he was about a week away from not being able to walk. He says he's about 90 to 95% at the moment, hopes to join the team for their offseason training activities. Former Chiefs defensive coordinator Bob Sutton is headed to Atlanta. He'll be a senior assistant to Dan Quinn and will help with in-game strategy, which includes managing the clock, usage of timeouts, and replay, while Quinn puts a bigger focus on calling the defense. Sutton was fired by the Chiefs last month after 6 seasons with the team. And in case you missed it, football was back this weekend as the Alliance of American Football debuted. The 8-team league featured some familiar names and faces. And for a recap of all of that, here's Alex Flanagan.
Week 1 of the Alliance is in the books, and what a great weekend of football it was. Steve Spurrier up to his old tricks, throwing a pass to his quarterback, Garrett Gilbert, in the end zone. Mike Brickovici was trending on social media after that hit. Trent Richardson scoring 2 touchdowns for the Birmingham Iron, and the Arizona Hotshots dancing it up in the locker room after Rick Neuheisel leads them to their first win of this first week of Alliance football. And here we are in the Alliance All Access Studios. I'm Alex Flanagan, joined by Cynthia Freeland, Rod Woodson, and Sean O'Hara. And Rod, what did we learn this weekend?
I mean, you know, pro football has been the only sport, Sean, that didn't have a alternative to playing in the National Football League, and the Alliance is here, and they have an alternative, and it's good football. So I love what I'm seeing. I love the way they played. I love the competition they had yesterday and today. I'm glad it's here for the players to show their skills that they have, that they still can play in the National Football League.
Sean, did anybody in particular stand out to you?
Yeah, to Rod's point, probably one of the toughest positions to develop is the quarterback. How do you simulate live action, a live rush? Well, I thought John Wolford did a great job, and Garrett Gilbert showed up early on. You look at the touchdown throw, the very first touchdown in this Alliance League right here to Jalen Marshall, a great throw. Garrett Gilbert was only eligible for this draft just a couple days before because he was with Carolina Panthers in Week 17. So great job by Garrett Gilbert. He looks as advertised, and this offense looks very good for Orlando. They're going to be a team that everybody's going to try to stop.
Yeah, they look good. Cynthia, we kind of saw what we're going to get Week 1. Where do we go going forward, do you think?
Well, as these teams continue to play together, they've only had 28 practices in a very short preseason. They're going to gel, and we're going to see kind of what these new rules mean, meaning we're going to get more snaps, more like 70 to 75 in a game, as opposed to 60 to 65 in a normal NFL game. And then you're also going to see a higher scoring game. The 2-point conversion rule means we're going to see scores like 28, 27 points per game, as opposed to 23, 22 in the NFL.
All right, want more football? Because we've got it, okay?
Bring it.
Yes.
Week 2 coming your way. Look at the slate of games, you guys. You have to look at the TV guide, find us. We're going to be on all the networks. Lots of good football coming your way. Week 1 in the books.
Former Chiefs running back released 2 months ago after a tape surfaced of him pushing and kicking a woman in a Cleveland area hotel. Signed a 1-year deal with the Browns today without any promises from the league that he'll be able to play next season. He's on the commissioner's exempt list, and a league investigation is ongoing. Clint says he is, quote, committed to following the necessary steps to learn and to be a better and healthier person from this situation. I also understand the expectations, he says, that the Browns have clearly laid out, and that I have to earn my way back to the NFL. As for the Browns, GM John Dorsey, who drafted Hunt when he was with Kansas City, he says the running back deserves a second chance.
We have done extensive research with regards to this case, this player. And at the end of it, the one thing we did find was he understands and takes full accountability the egregious act that he committed. He is extremely remorseful. There are no guarantees. You are going to have to earn the trust in this situation. And I truly believe that he will be a better man moving forward than he was in the past.
Also today, the announcement some in NFL circles have been waiting for. The Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, saying he is all in on the NFL, foregoing, for now, a career in baseball, and giving us an electric draft prospect to discuss for the next few months. Oh boy, he's going to be fun to talk about for the next few months because he does a lot of things well, and then he does some things that could be cause for concern for some NFL teams. David, I know you watched some tape of him over the weekend. What stood out to you?
I did. I watched a ton of tape, but also, like, just let me caveat this real quick. When Oklahoma was on, I'm watching. Like, this year, that was the one team where I was like, I have to see what this kid's going to do. And I think that's the intriguing part, is he's so dynamic. And when I watched the film this weekend, I saw a guy that had extremely rare ability. I mean, and that's just arm talent, throwing the football down the field. He's extremely accurate down the field. His improvisational skills are excellent. I think that he almost trusts those too much. But I think that as far as just from a dynamic playmaking ability, and the NFL is going that way, then I can absolutely see why teams are saying, okay, maybe he's a franchise quarterback. But at the very same time, okay, as soon as you see the good stuff, that's where I also think that that's where the bad habits come. And it's going to be something that's going to be, it's going to take a team that really focuses on taking this kid and really working on him from the pocket because he locks in on guys.
Okay.
And it's because he's such a good player. All through high school, probably even before that, he was the best player on the team. If my first read's not open, I'm going to jump around, and I'm just going to make a play. And you saw at the beginning of that Alabama game, and even throughout the game, he looked like a guy trying to get out of a fire, right? Like a house is on fire, I have to find a way out. And that's not really how you play quarterback. I mean, he was dynamic, and he's excellent, and he's possibly he could be a good quarterback, but it's going to have to take a team that really says, you know what, we got to really work on your pocket presence. Baker Mayfield, right? Same system. When Baker came in, his preseason debut, I saw the best pocket presence that I'd ever seen out of a quarterback for a young guy. Kyler doesn't have that, right? He doesn't have that ability to go through reads and make throws. But a lot of it's because he's never had to. He's always been able to just scoot out and get out of there and make some plays. So it's really hard. That's why people are having a hard time saying, where is he? Is he a first-round guy? Is he a fifth-round guy? It's really hard to determine because he has that ability, but then he also does some pretty bad things as well.
Well, the height is going to be something that teams are going to have to wrap their brain around also because
for sure.
He is listed at 5'10" in the Oklahoma media guide. He hasn't officially been measured yet at the combine, so we'll see where he comes in there. As you see right here, Russell Wilson is the shortest NFL quarterback as of right now, and he's dangerous. Taller than that at 5'10". Yeah, right? He could get it done for sure, but I'm just saying from a height standpoint, that's your comparable. Yep. Drew Brees at 6 feet. So just for an idea of what he's up against, me and Heels, roughly 5'10". Willie, not 5'10". This is the defender that he's going to be going up against. So he's quarterbacking under center, and you're trying to stop him from doing his job. How do you go about doing that?
Well, the first thing we don't want him to do is get out of the pocket with all that athletic ability because other parts of the defense will break down because he can move and throw the ball on the run. So you want to keep him in the pocket. You want to smother him in the pocket so he can't see over those giants. Most of those linemen are 6'3", 6'4", or above, and they have a long reach. So you don't want to let him get out of the pocket because he's a baseball player. We saw what Pat Mahomes and some of these other guys, Russell Wilson, can do. So if you can be the quarterback, I'll show you what we would try to do.
Offensive line for Lindsay.
Offensive line, you're a center. So we'll start off here, and I can put my hands up here as a quarterback. Okay, that's pretty intimidating for a guy that can't really see over. But our job is to push the guys on your heels. So now if I get you here
make sure he doesn't do that.
and I get my arms up, that's pretty impossible for you to throw over. I know you could do it.
I mean, obviously.
Right. But for most shorter quarterbacks.
I could go Patrick Mahomes on you. I'll find a window. I'll do what needs to happen. But you're right, it takes...
For most quarterbacks, it's tough. Drew Brees is probably the best in the league at sitting in the pocket with his head up, keeping his eyes down the field, regardless of what's going on around him, and he's able to deliver strikes down the field. Russell Wilson is the best at moving the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, being extremely accurate. Like David said, he would have to learn the positive pressure, be poised, and be able to throw from the pocket to be successful long-term in this league.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And then a lot of the bad habits you see, what I was talking about earlier, is exactly because he has a hard time seeing over the guys and he doesn't feel like he can throw it over the top. So quick passes he struggles with because balls get batted. He's really close to the line of scrimmage, right? As far, even from shotgun, he's close to those guys getting pushed back. So he almost has to bounce around, and people say, oh, he has happy feet. It's because he's literally trying to find a passing window. He's trying to find a way through the trees with this football. So that's the difficult part.
So does he have to go shotgun? Does he 7-step drop?
Well, you saw with Oklahoma, it was better off of play action, and then he would retreat even more, 3 or 5 steps from even shotgun. So he's back at 12, 13 yards throwing the football, and he has a good enough arm to do that. But, man, you do that in the NFL, you got Von Miller and these guys coming. 12 yards deep is going to be really difficult to play from because they'll get to you.
You can definitely still throw it over. So we'll get a chance to see how all of this plays out at the scouting combine. And for so many reasons, obviously, we'll be very interested to see him take the field there on March 2nd. That's Saturday. That's the day that the quarterbacks go through their drills. Our scouting combine coverage starts live on Friday, March 1st with the offensive line and running backs. And again, NFL Network is the only place that you'll be able to watch this play out live. All right, we've got quarterback news not related to Kyler Murray. New Tampa. Love seeing MJ up in the morning like that. Time to read and react to some headlines made over the weekend, starting in Tampa, where new Bucs head coach Bruce Arians says that he has studied quarterback Jameis Winston and says that most of his issues are mechanical. Arians told the Tampa Bay Times that between himself, OC Byron Leftwich, and quarterback coach Clyde Christensen, they can turn the former #1 pick around. Here's what they're trying to turn around. In 9 starts last season, Jameis had one of the worst touchdown-to-interception ratios and passer ratings among qualifying quarterbacks. David, is this a mechanical issue that we're talking about here?
I mean, he may have some mechanical issues that they need to work through, but I think a lot of it is more of the GPS, not the mechanics, right? Decision-making, where to go with the football, making poor decisions in the red zone has still haunted him. Even from the days when he was in Florida State, it's still the same thing. So at some point, you have to kind of get over that because he's shown that he can throw for a lot of yards. He's got weapons all over the place. He can make plays, but you got to really focus in on the decision-making if you're going to be a football team and a quarterback that are going to go all the way.
Speaking of decision-making, new Broncos head coach Vic Fangio has decided not to sugarcoat the Broncos team outlook. He told the Colorado Springs Gazette that the team needs to find an identity and look long-term instead of trying to make the quick fix. Willie, what is the first thing that you would fix with this team?
First of all, he's honest. He's going to come in and try to fix the holes. The defensive side of the ball, I'm not worried. He's got some good toys to play with, and he'll be able to shut teams down. It's on the offensive side that concerns me. They had 37 touchdowns. Only 19 were passing touchdowns, but what bothers me is when you pair that with 21 turnovers, it's not good. There's no consistency in the passing game. They did a great job at running the ball, so they established that you can run the ball and set up the play action, but more times than none, they wasn't throwing the ball down the field effectively, especially when they were losing and needed to push the ball down the field. So the offensive side of the ball.
The Vikings went from the NFC Championship game in 2017 to missing the playoffs last year, but Stephon Diggs hopes that Vikings fans will be patient and stick with them. He said that everybody was new last year and the team still has to make adjustments. David, finish this sentence for me. Blank must improve for the Vikings to compete in the NFC.
It's a quarterback, Lindsey. Kirk Cousins has to play better. I think it's very well, obviously, documented. He's got paid a lot of money, came in. He was supposed to be the fix, the guy that was going to take this team to the next level. Case Keenum, when he was there, he gave those guys chances. He really went outside the box, made some dynamic plays. Kirk Cousins can take a page from that. You know, Patrick Mahomes goes around. He's not over-analytical about the offense. He makes some wild plays. Kirk Cousins, you don't have to be that guy, but you have to have an element of that guy to be able to get where you want to go. If you just go out and do what the coach asks you to do every time, you're just going to be 500. You got to go do more than that.
After a disappointing end to the Panthers season, Ron Rivera told the Charlotte Observer, this team has to evolve. This team has to change. I've got to step up. I've got to set the standard. Willie, we're talking evolution here. What needs to change for the Panthers?
Well, they got to be better, and they got to be more consistent. This coach understands that if you don't win football games, you won't be coaching in this league long enough. And if you look at this team on paper, they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL. You start off 6-2, and then you have a terrible record on the road. You can't win on the road. And, of course, a lot had to do with Cam not being 100% healthy. We understand that. Sorry, 2-6 on the road, which means you got to be consistent. You got to win at home. You got to win on the road. And then when the defense is playing good the first half of the season, you got to carry that into the second half. And the offense has got to keep up and be consistent. So what he's saying is we all got to do better, or there's a lot of things that's going to change starting at the top.
You need your quarterback to be able to throw more than 30 yards downfield, which he said last week he couldn't do at the end of the year. Social blitz now. Kyler Murray, obviously the big story in the NFL today, announcing that he is going to forego a career in baseball and focus entirely on the NFL for now. Kirk Cousins, one of the people responding to that on social media. Congrats, man. Have to imagine that was a tough decision to make. What a blessing to be in that position, though. Kyler, the 9th overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft last June. He was that good at that sport. Also, today, Julian Edelman didn't win a Grammy. Still a good time. I'm just with Mark Wahlberg. That's where the victory lap takes me, to the Grammys. But that's an award that I don't win, just the Super Bowl MVP. Your boy is living it up, Willie. All right, also living it up, the defensive player of the year, the defensive rookie of the year, I should say, Darius Leonard, who surprised his mom with a new car. And this is her reaction. I love that. What's that like to be able to do that for your parents? David, Willie?
It's a blast.
I mean, I send my...
Harmon forced the pick, and Gilmore comes up with it.
Hell of a play. That's why you're here. You balled out, bro. Played your ass off over here.
You're behind. You're behind. All right, they're the Super Bowl champs, looking for number 7 next year, according to Julian Edelman. But they've got some work to do prior to that. Look at all these unrestricted free agents that the Patriots are looking at here. Who's your priority, Willie?
Well, it's hard to choose just one. I got Trey Flowers and I like Gostkowski, but that mountain of a man in Trent Brown. He's 6'8", 380. They were tied third fewest in giving up sacks. They only gave up 1 sack in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. If you talk about how important a player is to a quarterback who can engulf guys trying to pass rushers and then give them time to throw, and then in the run game, that guy right there is priceless.
Yeah, Donald Penn from the Raiders was in last week, highlighted a couple of his plays from the Super Bowl. How about the Rams as they try to get back to the big game? Look at the names that they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with. Look, C.J. Anderson, Dante Fowler, LaMarcus Joyner, Roger Saffold, Sam Shields, Ndamukong Suh. I mean, where do you start?
Well, it's crazy because they all benefited. I mean, they all made dramatic. They came out and helped that team. C.J. Anderson, like, you look at C.J. Anderson, like, can we let him go? But I think you can let C.J. Anderson go. Look at a guy like Dante Fowler. He won that Saints game right at the end of the game, knocking Drew Brees. Ball goes in the air, gets intercepted. The edge rush and the edge pressure, I think, was crucial for those guys getting where they were. You can say, okay, Ndamukong Suh, and I agree with you, he's a great player, but I think that without him, you're going to have to get too creative. Like Willie, we were talking about offset. You have to get too creative with your pass rush, putting guys outside. When you have a guy like Dante Fowler, who seems to be very happy in Los Angeles, playing for the Rams, come from Jacksonville, I think you have to find a way to keep him. And
that also allows the interior guys to play their natural positions inside. You don't have to move them to defensive end. And he came in and helped this team right away. That's exactly what the doctor ordered.
I mean, I already said it, but offseason, what offseason, right? We've already talked about the Combine, which is coming up in just one of a kind. And on this day, 27 years ago, he was property of the Packers. This is the day that he was traded, guys, after his rookie season from the Falcons to Green Bay for a first-round pick. It's also the anniversary of his second retirement of the three, the day he retired from the Jets. What is your favorite Brett Favre memory, David Carr?
I saw NFL films of him talking about how Ty Detmer had to tell him what nickel defense was. He literally did not know what nickel was. And Ty Detmer was like, it's when they take a linebacker off the field and they bring a DB in. And Brett was like, that's it? That's all it meant. What's the big deal? So
why do they keep yelling about this
that's
nickel?
That's just the way he played, though. Like, I remember Corey Bradford, I played with him when I was in Houston, and he used to tell me a story. Brett would get halfway through the play call, and he would kind of just forget it and be like, you know what, Corey, just run it how you ran it in practice. Just run a slant. And he'd throw him a touchdown, and then they'd go. Great, but that's just how he played, though. He called plays the way he played, and he read defenses the way he played. So it was just fun.
How far into his career was he when this nickel conversation happened?
I think this was his rookie year, so it's a little bit. It's not as bad as you think.
Can you imagine how those combine interviews would go today up at the whiteboard with Mooch, like and
Sixth
scene?
It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you?
My memory's not really good. It was Super Bowl. We played in '96, of course, and you know I was excited because I did get a sack against Brett. But guess what? He opened up and hit us for an 81 passing touchdown, caught us in the wrong defense, and I think it's still the second longest passing touchdown in Super Bowl history. Like, he still has that record, number 2. And I just remember having fun getting that sack, like, oh, yeah, we're on the roll, here we go. He just looks, laughs, makes an audible, boom, 81 yards later, touchdown to Freeman.
You know what, Willie? I don't think I'm going to feel sorry for you about this story.
No.
Like 3 Super Bowl rings later, woe is me, I didn't win them all.
Trying to make us feel sorry for the Patriots.